everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and this evening we are here to recap Married to Medicine Season 5 Reunion Part 1. So when I watched the show on Friday night, I was like so over it. I was like, I am not recapping this mess. This is so stupid. Why is this going to be stretched out for 3 whole episodes? But then this morning I was laying in bed and I picked up my tablet and I said, let me watch that reunion once more. And so I did enjoy it more when I watched it the second time. So let me go ahead and get into this recap for you guys. So before the reunion begins, we get these cameos of the women arriving, and it is hard to miss the fact that Mariah has this big poster that she's going to hang on her door, the door to her dressing room. Meanwhile, the other ladies just have like a printed, printer-generated sign on 8x10 copy paper that basically has their name and Married to Medicine on it. So let's talk about the outfits that the ladies have on, because you know that's always a big part of the reunion show. I can't say that I was overly impressed with any of the outfits. Like, there was nothing. I think the ladies on Real Housewives of Atlanta do a better job of selecting their outfits for the show. The women on Married to Medicine, they seem like they're probably like me, a little homely. So they have to really stretch when they're getting ready, to try and diva it up. So let's begin with Quad. So it appears that Quad is wearing the same outfit that Nene wore a few seasons ago on the reunion for Real Housewives of Atlanta. It was a no when Nene wore it, and it is definitely a no with Quad wearing it. So Heavenly is wearing this silver dress that is a bit matronly, but more appropriate for this age group that we're dealing with. And, because they are kind of low-key, they're not over the top like the women on some of the other housewives shows. So I give Heavenly a thumbs up on her outfit. Jackie and Simone, on the other hand, appear to be going with the black leather in honor of Black Panther. So I will give them a pass on these outfits they had on. Toya claims on the show, she claims that she has body issues and have dealt with her weight in the past, but she chose to wear a very sheer skirt to complement her body, and the top is like it was like a really bodice fitting top, and it has spaghetti straps, and so the skirt part looked like it might have been like a one-piece top, and then she had the sheer skirt on top of it. So considering Toya's body type, I'm not sure that was a good-looking person, but it did look kind of cute on television. So Mariah kept it classy as usual, and she had on a floor-length evening gown with a thigh-high split and spaghetti straps. So it was just your typical evening after 5 outfit that you wear to a banquet. Then Contessa, Lord have mercy. So her outfit was a no for me also. Now, I love a jumpsuit, but I think that you have to have a certain body to wear a jumpsuit. And to me, Contessa just doesn't have the body. She doesn't have the confidence. She doesn't have the swag to pull off a lace, sheer lace jumpsuit like she was wearing. Now, I think Portia, Cynthia, or Marlo from Real Housewives of Atlanta could have tore that outfit up, but it just wasn't working for me with Contessa. So the first part of the reunion, Andy was talking about the kids, and for the first time I realized that we really didn't get that much of Toya's kids on the show, but I guess it didn't really matter because her kids are so young. And so they talk about Alora and her singing, and Heavenly states that Alora has her first single out, and she also says that Damon is the music producer, and that Damon has I guess a production studio in the house somewhere. Now I don't know if that was Dr. Damon or Damon Jr. I'm thinking it was her husband, but everybody seemed to be a little surprised by that. And then somebody made the comment that Heavenly was pimping Alora, and Heavenly was like, no, she's not. That, you know, her child has a talent and she wants to guide her in that talent and her passion for singing, and I have no problem with that. And if y'all don't think that Candy is pimping Ace with that line and pimping Riley, trying to make her cut that single talking about her dad, then y'all can't be talking about Heavenly pimping Laura. And then they talked about, somebody asked a question, there was a scene during the season with Dr. Simone and her son when they were at the ice cream shop, and he made the comment that he likes everything vanilla, including his women, but if he had to settle, he would go ahead and go for a black woman. So Simone tried to clean it up and say that he was just trying to get a rise out of her, you know, trying to get her to get upset, and that's the kind of stuff he does. And the ladies kind of co-signed it, but the people on Twitter said they weren't going for it, that it was offensive for him to make a comment that being with a black woman is considered settling. So guys, let me know what you thought about the comment, because I don't even remember the scene taking place during this season. So it obviously just rolled off my shoulder because I wasn't paying no attention. Then Andy, you know, was asking them what was it like, you know, putting their lives on display, because most doctors are very private and keep to themselves, and you know, they would never reveal to their patients the things that they do. And so for the most part, the ladies were saying that they have very good relationships with their patients and they don't mind sharing their stories if it can help somebody else. And then Heavenly said that her patients thinks that she keeps the show alive, that she's the funniest person on the show, and if it wasn't for her, the show would be kind of boring. But of course, Mariah took exception with that and doesn't think that Heavenly is all that funny. And then they got on the topic about trapping people, and Heavenly, when they were talking about Simone's son and what type of women he liked, and the scene where she asked did she need to go to Costco and get the box of condoms. And so Heavenly said that, you know, they need to be prepared for these little fast-tailed girls out there, because when they know you got a bright future, they will try to trap you, because that's pretty much what she did with Dr. Damon. So everybody was like, you trapped Dr. Damon? And then she said, oh, did I say that? And then Andy was like, how long have you been married? She said 20 years. He said, well, how old is your son, your oldest son? She said 20 years old. So like, Heavenly, you so doggone messy and will let anything come out of your mouth. And Andy switches gears and goes over to the whole Quad and Dr. G's situation going on. And so he asks Toya if she thinks that Quad is Greg's everything. And Toya says no, because she won't give him a child. And then Toya goes on to say that she is everything to her husband. Everything her husband needs, she is there to provide it for him, so he ain't got to be going out there in the streets looking for it. So Quad says that, you know, she sacrificed a lot to be with Greg, and he didn't appreciate her, and it's made her resentful, so she's now not interested in having a child. And because they argue, fuss, and fight all the time, it wouldn't be a good environment to bring a child into anyway. So Toya says that she agrees with most of what Quad says, but in her opinion, the resentment was there first before Quad decided that she didn't want to have a baby, that she was already resenting her husband. Then we go over to Contessa. So Andy asks Contessa about her time in the Navy, and she says that she was a surgeon and learned how to fly a plane, but she never answered how long she was in the military. So I have this thing about people celebrating Veterans Day who've only been in the military for like 2 years. They never served in combat. Like, you can be in the military for a long time and never served in combat, but I just have an issue with people that was only, you know, made it through basic training and then quit, or got kicked out, discharged, or was only there for 2 years, and when that first 2 years was up, they didn't re-enlist. I don't think they should get the honor of being considered a veteran. I think we need to have a time limit, and we need to have some guidelines on who can be called a veteran, because I started doing the math. Now, Contessa is like 40 or 41 years old. She says she's been practicing medicine for 13 years, which would put her around 27, 28. I think it takes like 6 to 8 years. Like you do your 4 years of, to get your bachelor's, and then it's another like 4 years to go through medical school. So say she got out of school at like 17. Maybe she was one of them smart kids, about 16, 17 when she graduated. She did the 8 years, which would have put her at 24 or 25. So that only gives Contessa about 2 years in the military. So she would be one of those people that annoy me, that try to act. And then on her behalf, she isn't the one that's promoting that she served time in the military. It was Andy that brought it up. And I'm sure if he didn't bring it up, it never would have been discussed. So I won't give Contessa a pass on this one. But I still think she was only in the military about 2 years. And I think your residency, I think, is like 3 to 5 years. So I'm thinking she probably went into the military in exchange for that residency. She probably got her certification for residency by going in the military for those 2 or 3 years that she was probably there. So then they discuss the fact that Contessa retired to be home more with her kids. And I told y'all in that season finale episode that I bet that lasted all 3 months. Well, I don't even think it lasted 3 months, because Contessa said she already back at work, but she only worked during the hours that the kids are at school, because she realized it was stupid to be sitting up in the house while her kids was going to school 7-8 hours during the day, or 6 or 7 hours that they was gone. So now she, drop the kids off at school, go to work, and then she gets off in time enough to go pick them up for school, which I think is what we suggested she do in the first place. So while she's talking about the kids and everything, Heavenly got all emotional and says that she now wishes that she had stayed home with her kids, but she doesn't really regret how her kids, she still thinks her kids turned out good. So then they start talking about Miss Renee. So Mariah basically said that she feels it was messed up that Miss Renee was so disrespectful to Contessa while she was employed as a nanny, and that she can't believe that Contessa's always saying that Miss Renee was like a mother figure to her, because she said her mother would never call her a bitch. And so then Contessa had the nerve to try and say that the ladies pushed Miss Renee to behave the way that she was acting, and saying that, Miss Renee isn't used to being around, people with money and education and all this stuff, and then that just made her feel inferior. So all them sisters made her pump her brakes and let her know that they did not come up rich, that they came into their wealth through their education, and that they could relate to Miss Renee more than probably Contessa could relate to Miss Renee, because they came from the bottom. They was like, we from Detroit, Milwaukee, like we from the rough neighborhoods, and we survived it to go on and fulfill our dreams. So don't even try to put that classism on us, like we made her feel inferior, because we've all come from where she's come from. Then they started talking about the fact that Heavenly was pronouncing the woman named Contessa. That's what she said, Contessa. And so she claimed like, well, I thought that was what her name was, and then she started saying she was just doing it to be funny. And then Contessa was like, well, I'm not the one to mess with, and I didn't think it was funny. And so I was like, come on, y'all. Now y'all just reaching for stuff to talk about. So then Quad discusses the fact that Contessa spoke up for her after Heavenly called her out for not having Dr. G's baby. And remember when they were in New Orleans and they were in the hotel room, and Heavenly was saying that she thinks it's a shame that a woman would deny her husband a child when that's the one thing that he's always asked for. And I think Contessa had replied that, as a woman, they shouldn't be judging another woman with what she does, with her body. And my thing is this on the whole baby situation. Before you got married, your husband said that he wanted to have children, and you knew you didn't want to have children, then you should not have married this man. And if you thought at one point you would want to have children, but then you got to the point where you no longer wanted to have children, then sit down and have a conversation with him about the fact that you don't want to have children. But in Quad's case, it seems like whenever they're having an argument, like that's the one thing she jugs at him about, is like, control the one thing that you want, and I'm not going to give it to you. So I think that I hear that they're already separated, and I think they need divorce and go their own separate ways, because this seems like a no-win situation for either one of them. So then they move on to Toya, and Toya, lets them know that they've been getting freaky more in the bedroom since they paid off the tax debt. And then she implied that on his diet, Eugene has lost all this weight, so now his penis is bigger. And so then Andy was like, what? Are you serious? He says, it bigger, or can you just see it better now that, he done lost his weight? And then Contessa kept saying in the background, that is not true. That is not true. Your penis does not get bigger just because you lose weight. And I'm thinking it probably technically doesn't get bigger, but I think as the fat rolls away from down in that area, it does make it protrude a little bit more. So I don't know, Toya. I don't think Eugene wants you talking about his penis size anyway. And so then we learned that Eugene has a new position. He's no longer, I guess, working in the ER overnight. And then she said that to make up this money to pay the taxes, that he was actually traveling out of town to work, and I didn't even know that. But with his new position, I think he works Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 perhaps, and so he's home more, and that has really improved their relationship. So then they bring up the fact that Contessa thought that their In the Black party was a dumb idea. So Toya explains that they had revealed on the show, that they were in tax trouble, and so they just wanted to celebrate and let everybody know on the camera that they had gotten out of tax trouble. But Contessa still thinks that it was dumb and unnecessary and a waste of money. And so then they discuss a viewer of the show who suggested that Toya give Eugene oral sex more. Now, I don't know why the people in the audience is trying to tell Toya. Well, I guess we be trying to tell them all what to do with their life. But anyway, Toya says that that Eugene doesn't like her oral technique, and that even though he doesn't like it, because they were like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. And so she said it's not that she doesn't know what she's doing, he just doesn't like it, and that she hasn't gotten complaints from other men who she's gone down on. But Toya says that she may work on it, but for the most part, he's not really in tune to her technique at this time. Then we go to Heavenly. So when Heavenly was asked how she's doing on her spiritual journey, Simone says that she is moonwalking backwards, and then Toya just comes out and says that Heavenly is downright mean, and that she's constantly coming for people and not being liked, and she's being nice. And she says that she didn't like that Heavenly kept coming for her about her weight in the confessionals. And so they showed the clip where they were doing like some field competition, and they were on the balls, like bouncing on, doing a race on the balls. And Heavenly was like, Toya's butt is so big, Toya could feed a nation. She was going on and on about how big Toya's butt was. But Heavenly says that, she was just joking, and had she known that it offended Toya, she wouldn't have done it or wouldn't have kept doing it. And so then Toya reveals that, she's had an eating disorder most of her life. She doesn't like her body, and that she recently had a butt reduction, lipo on her butt, because she thought her butt was too big. And so Heavenly was basically like, girl, since I know that it bothers you, I'll stop doing it. Okay, well, I'm not going to say I ain't going to do it no more, but I'm going to be more mindful and try not to do it so often. So then, basically all the ladies were saying that Heavenly was failing on her spiritual journey. But then Jackie came to the rescue and pointed out that her and Heavenly have been going to church together more often. And actually, I think it was last Sunday that Heavenly posted a picture of her, Jackie, and Simone at church. I think they go to World Overcomers. And she talked about she was paying attention to the sermon, but Jackie and Simone was playing around, and they taking selfies and video, people shouting and carrying on. And I'm just like, oh, y'all so messy on screen and off screen. So then Toya points out, when Jackie starts defending Heavenly, Toya points out that Jackie has also shaded her weight in her confessionals. And so then Jackie says, well, she kind of skirted over the issue, and then basically said that Toya makes fun of her own weight, so you can't make fun of yourself and then get mad, then play the victim when other people do the same thing that you're doing, because when you're making fun of your weight, you're making us think that you're okay with it. And so then we do it, but now that we know, we'll stop doing it. And so then I was like, okay. So then they bring up the issue where they had the 90s party and Mariah and Heavenly got to arguing, and Mariah told Damon to get his wife. So they brought that up. And so Mariah says that she thought that parents and children were supposed to be off limit. So then they had that whole conversation about the yo mama, and then they get to arguing and talking about it's a double standard. And then Heavenly brought up the fact that Miss Lucy had threatened to kill her on a Facebook Live that Mariah did. And if y'all ain't never seen Mariah Facebook Lives after them shows, it would be so funny. She'd be talking about them women, her mama be talking about the women, the sister, they all be talking, they be having guests over to the house talking about the women on the show. So basically Mariah says that her mom did not threaten Heavenly, that she made the comment, Heavenly need to stop talking about her mama because she don't know her mama. Her mama bust a cap in her behind and think nothing of it. So that wasn't really threatening. That was just a statement. So then they get to arguing about things that Miss Lucy has done, like when she hit Toya in the head with the pocketbook on the first season at their party, and just things that she said about some of the other women. And so then Quad brought up the fact that Mariah shouldn't be doing the Facebook Lives, dragging her for 45 minutes. She said, you got 2 of them up there, 45 minutes long. And I was even wondering, like, do the other women watch those Facebook Lives and how do they feel about it? So now we know they do watch them. And then Heavenly accused Mariah of having, what she said, 40 different Twitter accounts. So I don't think she has 40 different Twitter accounts. I think that they're just people sharing the information that she's putting on there. Sort of like the on YouTube, like when people share other people's videos, like Queen's Court is a good example. So people will record the Queen's Court and then share them under their own accounts as if they had actually recorded without giving any context or pretext or anything to the video. They just roll the video on their page as if it's them doing the recording. So I think that's where Heavenly may be getting a little confused. And they just get to going back and forth and carrying on and acting the fool that Andy said, okay, well, let's take a break. Let's just take a break. But they just talking and yelling all over him till finally he said, you know what, let's just take a lunch break. So he got up, took his microphone off and walked off. So then Quad jumps up and goes for Mariah, but then Aiden comes out and gets in front of them and then drags Mariah off the stage. And then some guy came, who I'm assuming is one of Quad's people on her team. He came and got Quad, so then they break. And then this is where the comedy began on the show. So when we came from the commercial break, we go backstage, and so Mariah is in the room with her team, and she had like a full production team. She had her makeup artist, her hair stylist, her agent, some producers, some family members. There was like so many people, and they were having like a team meeting. So they had closed the door. Did they close I think they had closed the door. I may be getting confused, but Heavenly at some point goes to Mariah's door. And remember the big poster picture I told you she had put up on her door herself. So Heavenly gonna take a magic marker and draw like a beard on the picture, a little goatee, and then some horns like the devil, calling Mariah the devil. That was just like, that was so childish of you. So then Mariah then after Heavenly runs back to her dressing room, Jackie comes down the hallway. And I think it was like some editing going on, because when Jackie comes down the hallway, she actually wasn't dressed for the event. She had on some blue jeans and a jacket, and her hair was all pent up. So Heavenly might have drawn on the poster before they even went out to start recording the show. So then Jackie goes into Simone's dressing room and basically was like, who drew on Mariah's picture? And so they were like, what? So then they all get up and leave the dressing room to go look. And so by now, Mariah has seen the drawing because the door is open. And then you could hear like her hairstylist, who's like this older white guy. He was like, it's just childish. It's just petty. I can't believe that she's acting like this. This is so kindergarten. And so then her team, you know, when the other ladies arrived and they just really get bold and bad, it was like, see what your friend did? See what your friend did? And so I was like, okay, y'all silly right now. And then I think before all this jumped off, Mariah was in there basically telling them about the things that was said while they were out on stage, and she was saying that the ladies are jealous because she has a fan base and her fans want to hear her opinions on the show, you know, after the show take place. And then she was like, you would think some of these older women amongst the group would say, no, we can't do this, we can't be acting like this. So then that was when everybody, you know, came out to the hallway, and so they get to talking. And so Mariah and Heavenly get to arguing back and forth. And, you know, Mariah was saying, you know, this is ghetto, this is hood, you know, this is not married to hip hop. You know, she needs to grow up, and this is why she needs to go. She needs to get off the show. So I said, let me find out Mariah, the executive producer, wants to fire Heavenly from the show. Okay, Heavenly wasn't there when all this was going on, and they was talking about how childish she was being. So then all of a sudden, Heavenly comes storming, you know, down the hallway, screaming at Mariah, you know, for allegedly talking negatively about her on Facebook. So we going back to that. And so Mariah was like, so what? You know, we're better than this. You're better than this. Just like, all y'all acting real childish right now. Then Heavenly started talking about, you know, you threatened my life. You threatened my life off camera. Off camera, you threatened my life. And I'm just like, girl, we back to the part about my mama bust a cap in your behind, and then Mariah say something else on camera. So then, you know, Mariah gets annoyed and decides not to come back for the remainder of the taping. So back on set, you know, as everything calms down, Andy asks Heavenly, you know, what happened, and she says that she was trying to be funny again. So I'm like, okay, Heavenly, that's about to play out right now. So then Toya says, you know, that's exactly what the issue is with Heavenly. She makes jokes at the expense of other people, and it's not funny. So then Andy asks if she's willing to apologize to Mariah, and, you know, Heavenly say, I apologize all the time. I ain't got no problem apologizing to her. And Heavenly, I think the problem is when you apologize to people, you just do it to be doing it. You don't apologize because it's sincere and you really mean it, because if it was a sincere apology, you wouldn't keep having to apologize for the same thing. So the show pretty much ends with you know, them talking about their strained marriages. And so Jackie gets emotional and says that it's been hard dealing with the whole issue with her and Curtis on TV, and that she was traumatized by the way she found out that he had cheated on her. And then Quad says that it's been tough for her and Greg, but they are trying to figure things out. And then Simone says that after the season wrapped up, that they had a busy summer with their sons, you know, getting them through basketball camp, getting the other son up to DC, going back and forth, getting him settled in for college, that they put everything on hold with their marriage, and it ended up being a big mistake because they had a really big argument and decided to separate. And she lets them know that she filed for divorce and that it should actually be final in the next week or two. And I'm thinking that was a mighty quick divorce. Y'all must have a prenup or something going on. And so everyone seems to be stunned except for Jackie. Jackie was kind of looking like, oh my God, I can't believe she's revealing this. But the rest of the ladies seemed to be a little surprised. And then Quad and Heavenly, you know, they were like crying, shedding a few tears, you know, that they were sad that they were breaking up. So guys, that was the end of part 1 of the reunion. Let me know what you thought. Do you think that we really needed 3 parts to this reunion, or they could have wrapped some of this up quickly? I know on part 2, it looks like Andy's going to sit down separately with the men. And then when they bring everybody together, it's going to be a little explosive, because we're going to be learning about some infidelity and women out here in these streets stalking these married men. And whew, it's a mess. But anyway, leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought. Rate the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I hope everyone has a fantabulous week. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.